Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Cassandra Bradford, and I know we are going through a winter storm here in Dallas. So, welcome to Business First with Dr. Cassandra Bradford. I am Dr. Cassandra, and today we are going to have some special guests. Tuere Armstrong, who's going to be talking to us about investment properties, flipping homes. We're also going to be talking about how you can leave an airship right now, complete an airship if you want to leave your, let's say, your home or your properties to your children or your children's children or your grandchildren. So you may want to join this podcast today. So I know a lot of you guys are dealing with some things, especially here in the Dallas Fort Worth, Texas metroplex. We've had a freak snowstorm come through, and so a lot of people have been out of power, out of water, out of resources. So I tell you, all of my Facebook friends, if you guys want to pray for something, now was the time to pray for the communities and the people here in Texas. So I know a lot of our homes, I'm hearing on the news, are dealing with busted pipes. We're dealing with flooding, even our schools. We've had a few schools that the pipes have busted because of this cold weather, this unseasonable weather that we've had here in Texas. And so a lot of the pipes are burst. A lot of people, they're losing things. There's been fires from, fireplaces catching on fire, probably because we haven't had a really cold winter here in Texas. So we've been using our fireplaces, and some of those have caught fire. So we've been dealing with a lot of things here, and then we also, because of our really bad weather, a lot of our grocery stores have been closed and are closed early because they don't have food on the shelf. So um, I mean, man, our people here in Texas, our business owners, our businesses have been suffering here this last week because of what's happening here in Texas. So don't forget to lift us up in prayer here in Texas. I know I have a lot of followers that may not be from Texas. You guys know I'm originally from Illinois, and I know my Chicagoans are saying, "What is a little ice?" We live in Chicago. We live on Lake Michigan, where the wind chill factor may be below 12, and that cold would just cut you right in the face. But Chicago, we're not equipped to deal with cold weather here in Texas. So we don't put down salt because we never really had real cold weather to do it. So just keep us lifted in prayer. Keep our homes in prayer, because a lot of our houses are underwater or flooded or been, trees and fell on houses. So, but today I think we got sunshine here. Hopefully we're going to have some melted snow, and we'll be able to travel on the highways and the byways. So I'm done talking because my special guest is here. This little ball of fire, Tuere Armstrong. I'm telling you, I am so happy that she's on the podcast with us today. She was a speaker at the Run Women's Conference year before last, and I'm telling you, she brought down the house. This girl knows everything about housing, investment properties, how to sell your house, when to buy a new house, when not to buy. Every time I'm around this woman, we get to talking about real estate, I learned something new. So
Oh,
I am
wow.
so happy that she's going to be joining us again this year for the Run Women's Conference. She don't even know it. I'm just letting her know she's going to be joining us again. I'm going to have her do a whole segment because she was a part of our think tank. And I'm telling you, we had realtors standing up with pen and piece of paper. So I'm like, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do? And so, hey, Tueri, how you doing?
Oh gosh, warm and struggling with this signal. Jesus, it took me like 6, 7 times. I've been trying since 10:30 just to like get my signal ready. It's ice everywhere. So I'm so sorry, but I was coming. I wasn't gonna miss it. I was
I
coming.
was stalling. I was talking about everything. So I was stalling. I knew you were coming. I saw your message. So,
I was coming.
Terry, I'm honored to have you on the podcast with me today. I'm telling you, this girl,
Oh, thank you.
she need to just, she'll have an ever-ending class if she was to tell you everything real estate. So tell everybody what you do and how long you've been in real estate and what are your areas of specialty.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I have been in real estate for 14 years total, almost 15. Um, I didn't start out as a realtor. I started out as an investor. Actually a bird dog is where I started, as a bird dog. And I didn't really know what that was at first, but I quickly found out I'm the one that's running around town chasing every dollar, every contract, and the investor is the one that's getting all the money. Total waste of my time flipping a contract. I mean, it was the worst. You get cussed out because you're always knocking on people's doors, looking for properties, looking for a deal. It was the worst. So I started off as a bird dog. And then once I realized I was getting gypped and I was doing all the work, then I started actually investing in real estate myself, and I became an investor. And then after going through that part of it, I actually had started a title company a long time ago. And we actually had somebody actually tried to steal our line of business. So I came out of that because the Secret Service came knocking, of course, and that's government money. They gonna come find you. That's FDIC money. They coming to look for you. Okay. So um got out of that part of it. I said, okay, I'm done with all that. And then I was like, you know what? I quit this business. But my heart wouldn't let me leave it. So I went back to the basics. I went back to school. I got my master's in paralegal studies with a contract in civil and criminal law. Um, I went back and I went into the corporate side of it. So I did foreclosing for a while with Bank of America through Recon Trust. I think I probably put my signature on about 44,000 people's homes that I actually signed off to take. And in doing so, as the manager of that department and working in that area, I mean, it was really sad. But then I started noticing all the paperwork was a jumbled piece of crap. Well, I always wanted to be an attorney, for the longest. So I was like, oh, let me get all this free learning. Let me get this free learning down real quick. And so that's what I did. And I started digging into that paperwork. And the next thing you know, I became so intrigued with that side of it that I actually went back into title. But this time I went into title from the bottom. So I started as an escrow assistant, and then went to an escrow officer, and then went to the team lead, and then went to manage. And I managed title for 6 years. I had to get my license in multiple states. I did with compliance, with Texas Department of Insurance. And then I couldn't stand the realtors that came into my title company because they all sucked. I mean, the majority, I won't say they all. I say about 95% of them were terrible. And the title company literally had to step in and take care of everything that you would think a realtor would take care of. And then we had clients that were calling us because they couldn't get an answer from the realtor. They couldn't get an answer from their lender. So the person or the group you could yell at that always answered the phone was the title company. So we took the brunt of it. And then I came home one day and I said, I'm going to be a realtor because they all stink. And then I became a realtor. And that's and now that I am a realtor, I just think that it's so awesome, the different layers in this industry that I have been exposed to, the different things and people that I have come in contact with. It allows me to have a different perspective on what it is that I'm doing. So I'm just not going to find you a house. I'm going to educate you how not to be one of the 44,000 people's houses that I put my John Hancock on and took on Texas Tuesday. I'm going to inform you how to turn your liability, which is this house in the beginning, to an asset. If this is a regular homeowner, if you are an investor, you got to understand the market. You have to understand what you're doing. You got to track trends. You have to look at statistics and geographical maps and understand what it is that you're doing. Just because the numbers look right, it does not mean it's going to give you a profit. And then the most important thing in all of this, Cassandra, is creating generational wealth. You know, like there are so many of us in our communities and in communities of color where we do not have generational wealth, and we don't even know how to build it from that. And the thing is, when it's my mama's and our dad's gonna go to me and my brothers, that is a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie that is traded through our communities. And you will wake up one day and nobody that you know, none of your childhood friends will even have a property in that area because it has been literally pirated and ravaged by people who know what you don't know. So education and creating generational wealth is key for everything that I do. I don't care if you buying a house. I don't care if you looking. I don't care if you selling, if you buying. I don't give a care if you want to buy a laundromat. Anything that has to do with real estate, And dirt specifically, anything from the sovereignty of the soil and up is an opportunity to create generational wealth, and is an opportunity for education. So
Did you all
that's
hear
like
her say the sovereignty of the soil? Y'all missed that. That's a whole sermon. That's a whole book title. You hear me?
it
Now,
is.
let me ask you a question because I think we brought this up in a think tank at the Run conference,
Mm-hmm.
and I know a lot of you were talking about generational wealth, and
Yes.
when Big Mama dies, she gonna leave in her house, right? And they don't understand. Big Mama had got Medicare bill. She was, the nurse came to the house every day. They thought the nurse was free.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that she's gonna have to pay that back.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna take it probably through her property.
That's right.
And so, what can some people do? Are there like I hear there like airship forms that people can complete?
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, so if you are a person or if you are an heir of someone who passed away intestate, meaning that you passed away and that person, if I passed away and I didn't have a will, then that means that I died intestate, right? And so with me dying intestate, the state of Texas, especially the state of Texas, okay, they are greedy. The state of Texas will require you to open up probate or either prove that you are related to said individual who passed away and that you have certain rights to their monies or what have you, right? Or whatever it is they left behind. If you cannot prove that via a will because it wasn't there, and I'm gonna go touch back on that in just a second. But if you know there are no instructions on what to do with what the deceased person's assets or either what their items were and how they were to be distributed, whatever that was, monetary or non-monetary, the state of Texas requires you, and the majority of states require you to have an affidavit of heirship. The affidavit of heirship is something that you can put together either with an attorney. They have forms online. They're not really detailed enough for Texas because remember, there are some states that are attorney states, and you must be very, very precise in the language that is in the document. So promulgated forms sometimes are not your best option when it comes to handling matters such as this, like LegalZoom. I'm not downing them because they are great at what they do and the service that they ask, the service they provide. However, you need to be very detailed whenever you are jumping into this boat. You know what I'm saying, Dr. Cass?
Mm-hmm.
So affidavit of heirships identify who the children are, who the deceased person was, if there were any adopted children or children that can take claim over the estate. It requires you to state where the decedent passed, where they were born, the actual location of where they passed. If they had a spouse prior to that, who that spouse, when they passed, to make sure it went to them, that spouse was not married or what have you, because you do have widowers and widows who can take claim over the estates even if you were married to somebody. It doesn't matter at times, especially when it comes to Social Security. It's a mess. So you want to make sure that you have the affidavit of heirship in place. You want to make sure that you speak with an attorney. On the affidavit of heirship, it lists all of the decedent's siblings. And like for me, when my father passed, I had to do one for me and my sister. My dad would not listen to me about getting a will. He sold insurance and he didn't care. But I still had to do an affidavit of heirship just for me to be able to settle his accounts. And just like you said, if mama and Big Mama was getting taken care of by this nurse you thought were free, you better think again,
Yes.
because they still have the legal right to place a lien on that property.
Yes.
To get their money. In the state of Texas, anybody can place a lien on the property. There is no rhyme or reason as to why
Right.
anybody can place a lien on the
I
property.
can put a lien on your property. I don't have anything to do with it. And in Texas
Exactly.
will allow it.
Exactly. In the state of Texas will allow it. So you also have to keep in mind that the same way, once you make yourself known that you are the heir of said estate, that debts can actually be sent and attached to you
Right.
also. So you
So
have to be very careful in what you are doing, because when you open up that can of worms, you open it up for bills to come your way too. So it is highly important that we have something. I don't care if you wrote down on a piece of paper on the back of a receipt that when I die, get this to Jimmy, get this to Johnny, get this to Jackie, get this to Sam. You better say something and sign it, because a wet signature is required to transfer ownership of real property in Texas and literally across the US. It has not changed. It's been the same way since the 1800s. You better put your wet signature, meaning someone physically has to sign off on the transfer of real property in order for it to transfer to the next person. So just because Big Mama passed away, that is not you and Jimmy and Jeffrey and Sandra's property. That is not how it works. And if my daddy, Jerome, passed away, then Jimmy and Sandra and Wanda got to share that property with me and my sister Saran. You want to know why? Because we're the heirs of my father. And if I passed away, then it goes to my biological children and my stepchildren, because those children are welcomed into my home. So estates will be split accordingly. And if you do not, in the state of Texas, it will go into probate, and the state of Texas will hold it. And then you're gonna have to go to court and fight to get it out. And if you pass, yes, and if you pass away in Texas, you know, one of the things I found out, people that I run into all the time, they do not know, Dr. Cass.
What?
If you foreclose, if your property get foreclosed on in the state of Texas and you are deceased, you know, people don't know that that equity is still sitting there. You know, the bank can only foreclose on what you owe. They cannot foreclose on the amount of the house. They can only foreclose on the notes. You know what I'm saying? So if your mom and them been in this house for 35 years, and all they owe is $14,000, and this house is worth 120 or 130, even in its present condition, that equity is yours. The bank can only foreclose on the 14,000. They
Girl, I
can't.
need to hire you. I think I got some equity due me on some property. I need to talk to you.
You know how many people I have to help them go, and I'd be like, no, call your mortgage company, find out what it go to the Texas Land Association is one of the biggest record of deed holders and records in Texas. Go and call them. Call your prior lien holder who, you know, foreclosed on the property, or who your mom and them had to foreclose on the property. That equity is yours. That's free taxable income.
I'm writing this down myself.
I mean, it's crazy how many people I help to go get that money, and it's a simple thing. Pick up the phone and call them, but it's so simple, but yet people don't know. You know what I mean? And if you don't get it, the state of Texas will escheat the funds, meaning they gonna take your money because nobody ever came and got it.
Wow, man, we're being educated today. This is why I need this lady at this conference next year, because y'all need to know. Some of y'all, the state of Texas, the Texas Land Association owe y'all some money, and I've been trying to get my $20 back from y'all for 2 years. You could have paid me a long time ago if you.
The Texas Land Association, they'll have all the deeds of record for you, so you can go on there and go look and see who foreclosed on it, who the mortgage company was, all this type of stuff. You can see if it was an illegal foreclosure because the heirs weren't even noticed. Therefore, the foreclosure sale has to be rescinded because it was never legal in the first place. I mean, you can get your money back from properties that have been sold at foreclosures. I mean, just it's a way for you to track the records if you don't know. And if you can, then you can call the mortgage companies, you know, and find out. Even people I helped that were at the bridge that were homeless, and then something happened, you know, a catastrophic life event happened, they lost their houses, now they're on the street. They have money. All you need is 35 cents or however much a payphone costs. We still have payphones.
I don't know if we don't still have payphones anymore too.
Oh, well, I was gonna say 35 cents. And call and be like, hey, this is my money.
So now let me ask you a question, because I know a whole bunch of people right now. I mean, is that what you do? Is that, I mean, I'm pretty sure, because you charge a fee. And
yeah, I do, but I help
so many people that have lost. I have a good friend of mine who bought a house, paid for the first and the second, paid off the first,
and the second foreclosed.
And they foreclosed on her. And she was trying to work through her mortgage company. They wouldn't respond. She had certified mail letters. Trying to work with the mortgage company, they wouldn't work with. The next thing you know, she got a foreclosure note. She go, wait a minute, I got all these letters. You kept saying you're gonna call me back. It was being reviewed, and her house got foreclosed on. Now she I think the house was like a $300,000 house. She paid off the first. So she may have owed $60,000. They foreclosed. So that means she got all that equity.
That's her money. Yes, that's her money. That is her money. The difference in between what your original deed was And the difference in between what they sold it for, that's your bracket of equity. Okay, that's immediate. Now, if we would have put it on the market and sell it, that's a whole nother level of equity, right? That's its value. But whenever you buy a house, you sign a deed for this amount of money. Your note is secured for this amount of money. Over time, you pay that off. When you get foreclosed on, now it's this amount of money. That amount of money in between your deed and your original note and what they foreclosed on, that is your immediate equity. Nobody can take that from you. That is your equity. So if her second was worth 80 something $1,000 and then it went to the foreclosure sale and it sold for like 14,000, because remember, they can only foreclose on what you owe. Okay. So if she owed 14,000, that difference between that 14 and that 80, that's her money. That's her money. You can't take that. Nobody can take, that's your money. Now, if you are deceased and your mama owed 80 something thousand and she paid it down to 13, and you get an affidavit of heirship that shows you have rights to sell it, you have a will, and you hire a realtor, and I sell that sucker and I put it on the market for market value as is, no repairs, we're not doing nothing, investor special, because you don't want to really get into all of that. Now you capitalize on this much equity. You know what I mean? Like, now you were here, but now you're here because I put it on the market and it's sold, you know, at a market value price. Even if it's below market value, it's still sold at a point where an investor will be able to pick it up, make them money, and still pay you money and cash you and your siblings out. There's no reason to fight over nickels and dimes. You can fight over dollars. Everybody's got to stop being greedy and be focused and know what you're supposed to do and capitalize on it and move this property and put this money in your pocket, that we can create generational wealth like your mom and them would have wanted you to do. That's it's you know, it's two different levels, you know what I mean? But yes, for your friend who got foreclosed on that second, whatever she owed them on that note and whatever they foreclosed on her for, this gap in between her, that's her money. That's her money.
You about to get some phone calls, but listen. I know we're running out of time. I wanted you mentioned something about the bridge, and you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that, because I know right now. Well, just tell us about before I start asking questions.
So the Bridge is a homeless shelter that's in Dallas. And I didn't really work with them before, but I was randomly contacted by someone who needed help. She saw me speaking at a conference in Balk Springs. And so her a rep there, her case manager told her, well, let's go to this women empowerment meeting and let's go listen. And I met her. And that's when I started really getting involved with helping people that I know that are coming out of the Bridge. There's a program. It's a fresh start initiative program. And so when you get into the Bridge, there are, now I might quote half of this stuff, not accurate, but synopsis is, you get in, you work the program, you know, you get a job, they help you with your bank account getting established, they help reintroduce you into society, meaning your bank account, your credit, all of those things. And there are certain lenders and programs that will work with you to help you. So they give you vouchers to help you find a house. So what I had been doing with the couple of people that I've helped with the Bridge, and then just talking to them, is they have worked their way through the program where they are now about to be put out of the Bridge because they have to make room for somebody else to come in to receive said services. If they don't have any place to go, they end up going back on the street, and like, it defeats the whole purpose. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the voucher programs we got helped them. I was able to help them get a house.
Now, are they buying homes, or I mean, what are they?
So I went through I went through a couple of lenders in the Rural Housing Authority, and they provided them with vouchers, and they work on a different credit system: ask and answer, acts of God, and hold on, it's out of control, acts of God, ask and answer. Yeah, that's the three: out of control, acts of God, and ask and answer. That's how they work mainly with your credit. So where a regular lender would say, no, you can't get this loan because your credit is 580, if there are certain time periods on your credit where you see this huge gap where everything just fail, then clearly something happened. So they allow you to answer. They ask and you answer. If it was something out of control, if you got into a car accident and you were, handicapped, that was out of your control. That was an act of God. Natural disaster came in and flooded everything. That's an act of God. So they help you with answering those questions to help decide if you are able to get a loan. You have to have certain other qualifications, which the Bridge helped the people that I helped, where they have at least months of steady payment history, whether it's a car or whether they have a job, to show that they are responsible. This just happened to them. I mean, it's not, you are not your circumstance. You understand what I'm saying? So they actually helped, and they got a voucher. And that voucher allowed me to be able to purchase the home. And some of them we had to purchase bones and rebuild the sucker from the ground up in order for us to be able to fit within the monetary value they gave them for the voucher. But hey, a 2-bedroom, 1-car garage with a porch and a nice kitchen and bedroom, and you didn't have to pay for nothing, and the voucher came
Wow.
through. You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
And then
they went from, maybe some of them may have went from a homeless to being a homeless shelter to being a homeowner.
exactly. And some of them were prominent members of society, and life happened. Life happened. And then they lost everything. They lost everything. And then ended up on the street. And now they're homeowners again. When you talk to people, you get to understand their story. You know what I mean? So I've had people who were pastors in churches. I've had people who were doctors. You know what I mean? It's just life.
Yes.
Life.
Man, we have run out of time. I have like a whole pad full of notes. This Tuere girl, we have got to do this again. Maybe dedicate a whole hour
Please.
so we're not talking so fast. And hey, you guys, if you have missed any part of this broadcast, it will be on YouTube. Just give us about an hour. It will be on
Hey.
YouTube. So, man, we have run out of time. I am with Tuere Harold Armstrong, and she is a guru when it comes to real estate. You've been an heirship to property. Uh, Maybe you've lost your home and you didn't, you don't know, if you owe any money to the state for Medicare, Medicaid, because Big Mama said the house was yours. You need to get
Mm-hmm.
in touch with Tuere Armstrong. So Tuere, tell people how they can get in touch with you.
All righty. So you can reach me directly at my company is called Your Dreams Matter. And Your Dreams Matter is also my handle on Facebook. And Your Dreams Matter is also my handle on Instagram. You can also reach me at Tuere Harold Armstrong on Facebook. My email address is yourdreamsmatter LLC@gmail.com. And you can also reach me on LinkedIn at Your Dreams Matter. And if you want to go to the website, you can reach me at yourdreamsmatter.com. And you can reach me at yourdreamsmatterllc.com. I have two of them. So they'll both take you to the same place.
Or if you guys are on Facebook, you could just message her on Facebook. If you guys call me, I would definitely give you her contact information. This is Tuere Harold Armstrong. Make sure you contact her about issues with your real estate. You're an investor, you are looking for a house, or maybe you want to talk to her about the bridge program. Who knows? But get in touch with her. You guys, I am out of time. This is Dr. Cassandra Bradford. You've been watching us on Business First, and I'll see you guys at the top. Bye.
Bye.